Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Um, do we have audio for this? I'm thinking. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 14th of June, and it is Wednesday today. So, my goodness, we've had kind of an exciting Wednesday morning. There have been a lot of things going on this morning. These um, these news numbers that came out at 8:30 were were not certainly not the best we've ever seen, and these markets responded. It was currencies across the board. I don't know how many of you trade those sixes or even watch them as an indicator for something else, but all at once the dollar took a nosedive, and it brought the 6A and the 6E and the 6J and bonds and gold straight up with it. Uh, so those trade inversely as a rule. And so this is if you haven't looked to see just what that looked like this morning, I would strongly urge you to do so, because you need to have a healthy respect for what the news numbers can do. And it's just you only have to get on the wrong side of that once, and it tends to make you remember it. But the other thing, especially if you're trading futures, don't ever, 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 ever trade futures without a stop loss. And this was the kind of an event this morning where even if you have that, your your stop loss will get turned into a market order if you get on the wrong side, and so they will get you out of it, but you don't know um, where that price is going to be, because when the market's moving like a freight train, uh, you can get filled at something entirely different than what you thought. So it's with 8:30 numbers, and especially the retail sales, and today was the CPI also. They were really, really terrible. I think they were expected to come in a little bit below the expectation, but this was quite a bit. So anyway, a word of caution about the 8:30, especially some of these significant ones. If you look on the Apex News tab, you will also see there's a whole list in there, and you can set those to the ones that are the most important. I think it's the one with the little bull heads on there, and red signifies that they are significant. And sometimes, you go for some time, and you are expecting it. Well, it's supposed to be a significant news, and nothing much really happened. But don't get lulled into thinking that it doesn't really matter, because just about the time you do that, you'll get hit with a morning like today. This was really something. Then, after all that, we had the crude oil inventory come in at 10:30, which is normal on Wednesdays, and crude oil really sold off, and it sold off hard. Um, the the build has not been as high as what they thought, and I kind of expected it to sell off a little bit, but I mean, one of the things you can kind of look at to get a dose of reality is right here from it started just before 10:30, say 9:29, all the way over here it's still 10:30, and then this is 10:31. It'll fiddle around, and boy, when it went through the low of the day right here and past the 1 deviation level, it fell really fast right in here. So don't try to catch a falling knife. That's usually a good way to get your fingers cut. So anyway, um, we've got if if gold, I mean if crude oil goes down just a little bit farther, gets down here to about 44.20, then it may reverse. And the other thing that you should be aware of is with these markets, uh, the indices have been very difficult. I think this morning, YMI do keep a chart up, and it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth across settlement. Not doing very much. But when you see something like this, like crude oil selling off so drastically this morning, be careful about tomorrow, because typically when you have it going this much one way, the next day it will recover itself a little bit. So don't sit down at your chart thinking that well, gee, it went way down yesterday, it'll just keep going. It may, but typically there's some profit taking on these shorts, and as they start unwinding their short positions, then it causes the market to go back up a little bit. So just a word to the wise there, and it really does pay to stop, sit back, and see what your indicators are telling you. See what Apex is telling you to do, rather than go with your preconceived notion of what it should do, because it will do only what the bus driver is going to get it to do. That's for sure. We still have the VIX, even with this news this morning. The VIX is still holding below 11. So that is not very excitable. Some of this chop in these indices could also have something to do. They had a fiasco in DC this morning, and some nutcase opened fire on a bunch of Congress people that were practicing for their annual baseball game, and managed to hit 2 or 3 congressmen. He was taken out by the Capitol Police, or the security detail on the Majority Whip, but whatever it was, those kinds of things, when those kinds of news events, especially in the U.S. Capitol, occur, it can kind of make the big traders just step to the sidelines for a bit to wait and see what's going to happen until they get more information about it. So we've had quite a lot of stuff this morning. And then don't forget, we've got a little less than 2 hours to go till FOMAC. And FOMAC will be released at 2 o'clock. They are going to, the press conference will be at 2:30. So if you're in a trade just before 2 o'clock, I really urge you to get out of it before 2, and don't wait until 2 minutes before 2 and say, oh, well, I got out at 2 o'clock, because the news of this stuff and what they're going to release gets leaked. I mean, I can't imagine that would happen. However, it does happen. And so the statement and the projections and the Fed funds rate, that's going to be the big deal, Fed funds rate. It is expected that they may raise those interest rates 25 basis points. So it would take the overnight bank rate from 1.0 to 1.25. And this kind of thing, this is an interest uh, hike if they do it. They've talked about doing it now. This is June. They've been talking about this for about a year. So, talk, talk, talk. But um, this will affect the interest rate markets, which are the ZB, the ZN, and the ZF. And when those are affected, keep in mind what happens with something like this, with the euphoria of what happens. Big money can move out of bonds and into equities. So these are like gobs and gobs of money. So if you see the indices start to go up and bonds start to go down uh, sometime later this afternoon, that might well carry over for the next couple of days, certainly the rest of this week. So anyway, that's kind of the big picture in a nutshell, and my view from my world. But tomorrow, uh, barring any unforeseen stuff like we've had today, the currency traders, if you're trading currencies in the early wee hours, tomorrow there's lots of numbers releases from Europe, and it looks like the Australian assistant bank governor there is going to be speaking. So the Australian dollar could move early in the morning also. Europe and UK real early. 7 o'clock is a whole bunch of GBP numbers releases. And then at 8:30 tomorrow, which is Thursday, we get the unemployment claims and the Canadian manufacturing sales. So, and there are other Philly Fed and the Empire State Manufacturing. These are pretty significant economic numbers for the U.S. also. Then at 9:15 tomorrow, we have some more. If you trade the nat gas on NASDAQ, not NASDAQ, NADEX, that inventory is tomorrow at 10:30. So there are lots of things coming tomorrow morning and on Friday morning also. So the big thing is, if you have never traded FOMAC, it is not recommended. It's not something. Sometimes some more experienced traders in here will trade FOMAC a little bit, but we don't really recommend that because you can get seriously hurt in futures on that. So it's best to just step aside and let them all, do what they want to. Silas, what you will need to do is Silas is asking where can he get live charts to trade. What you need to do is get your data feed hooked up to NinjaTrader. If you have not downloaded NinjaTrader, you need to do so. It's free. Get the demo platform, get the data feed. You get a free data feed also from CQG. Those are on the NinjaTrader website. And then use the templates. Once you have loaded that, you will need to load your Apex toolkit. And this is all in the How to Get Started on the Apex website. Then you need to make your own charts using the template menu, and you should be good to go. Thanks, Aaron. That's the getting started video. If you follow along with that, do what that video is showing you to do, you'll be all set and good to go. And then also, Silas, if you're new, download Jing, which is another freebie because it's what we all use in here to post our charts. You need to learn how to use that thing, and there is a post in the forum of exactly how to use Jing, and that is something you must do if you intend to learn anything here, is to post your charts with your questions on there and your entries clearly marked. So, and you can get a lot of ideas once you get that going. So anyway, 2 o'clock is the bewitching